Hello and welcome to the In the Pen podcast, a podcast about relievers, part of the Pitcher List podcast network. My name is Jake Crumpler, and as always, I'm joined by Pitcher List's bullpen expert, Rick Graham. Rick, I've once again come in with an off-topic question to kick off the podcast, and my question relates to your sleeping habits. I think everybody has very strong feelings about how they prefer to sleep, but I don't think a lot of people really talk about it because it's really not that interesting. But that's why I chose it to talk about at the beginning of the podcast. Are you like a two pillow guy, like side by side on top of each other? Do you sleep with the window open? Do you like a fan or white noise? What's all the variables you like to factor in when you're sleeping?
Wow, yeah, there's a lot. I mean, so I'm definitely a two pillow guy. It's kind of been a game changer for me recently. Highly recommend too is I got myself like a body pillow as well, so I'm not just constantly annoying my wife. I have a body pillow. It's a cooling body pillow too, so it's like, if I let it sit out for a little bit, it gets nice and cold. So it's like, yeah, because I'll get hot. I'm constantly hot, but yeah, I'll make sure the temperature is low. I do like to have the TV on, which I know is bad for you, but it's just like a thing. I always have the TV on. I don't put it like loud.
Messages.
Yeah. My wife hates it. She's more of like put like a podcast on. But I do like having just the TV on. I don't know why. It's just been a thing I've always kind of done. But yeah, that's kind of me. Nothing else. Nothing too crazy.
Your pillows are stacked on top of each other?
Yeah. So I have I have one behind the other. So yeah, nothing, just two that, yeah.
Do you like a softer pillow or a firmer pillow?
So I'm more of a softer pillow guy. I used to have more of a firm pillow, but yeah, more of I forget, we just upgraded our pillows recently. I forget the name of it, but it's been a nice upgrade.
And do you keep your like sheets tucked in? Do you like a top sheet and then the comforter?
No, top sheet's useless for me. I'm super erratic sleeping. I'll just get rid of it in my sleep. So yeah, I like to keep it nice and cold, but I'll have the comforter as well to have something to kind of hold on to. That's kind of how I am.
Yeah. I'm very minimal sleeper as well. I do not tuck. I hate having any of the sheets tucked in. Top sheet is the worst. So I'm just a comforter too. And I'm somebody who likes to, like put your legs around it so you can, have your feet out. I also prefer it being cold because I do sweat a lot when I sleep. I do two pillows side by side, but I don't share my bed with anybody. So I think that's why I have that room. But I don't like having my head real propped up or anything. And I do prefer firmer pillows too.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, I could go with anything. I used to sleep with like a fan going all the time. I think that helps a lot too, because it's like a combo white noise and cooling down system.
Right.
So I like that, but I don't have a fan right now that I'm enjoying. So right now I've been fine with just like window open at nighttime and stuff. But I definitely am not a crazy, don't need a ton of stuff for me to sleep. Like I'm definitely not, I don't even have, cable in my room or anything. So I'm never having noise on or anything. I honestly prefer it like as dark as possible and as quiet as possible. And then I can just, I have no problem falling asleep. It's really not an issue for me.
When we're in Arizona together, trying to sleep in the same room. See, it takes me a little while to get used to, just get used to being silent, dark room. It's just it's different for me.
All right, well, that will cover our beginning of the podcast. Now we can jump into the baseball talk. Today we're going to be recapping the All-Star game and then talking about players that are trending up and down over the past 2 months, so we can get an idea of maybe some under the radar names and maybe some guys we can look to trade ahead of your league's trade deadline. So let's get right into the news and notes to start the week. We don't have too much from the past week because of the All-Star game. The last 3 days have been off for baseball if you discount the home run derby and the All-Star game and the draft, etc. But we'll start with the news, and the bad news we have is DEDNIEL NUNEZ, the relief pitcher for the New York Mets, is undergoing Tommy John surgery. I think he just underwent Tommy John surgery a couple years ago as well. So it's been a very unfortunate start to his career. He's still in his mid-20s, so he can totally recover from this, but you never know how somebody like that is going to recover. So DEDNIEL NUNEZ out for the rest of the season, probably out all of next year as well.
Yeah, we're not going to see him till 2027. Yeah, that second Tommy John's always, I feel like the trickier one. Typically after one, guys are able to bounce back. But like you said, he's still 27. He's still younger. So hopefully, I don't know what his contract situation is. I'm guessing. I mean, if he's an arbitration eligible guy, he might get non-tendered and become a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to like Adber Azale. But yeah, it's tough for Nunez. High hopes for him this year after his second half last season when he was electric for the Mets in a setup role. But yeah, this just is another, loss. They already lost AJ Minter in that bullpen. They're going to have to go out and get somebody at the deadline to, secure the eighth inning behind or in front of Edwin Diaz.
Yeah, they got so many injuries in Queens, not just DEDNIEL NUNEZ and AJ Minter, but also guys like Brooks Raley, Drew Smith, Danny Young, Max Kranick, Jose Buto. All those guys are on the IL, and they're relying on some very unfamiliar names there in Queens.
Yeah, I was saying most of this injured list, most of these guys would have been in the bullpen if healthy. Like not even like Kranick, I guess, was up and down, but the rest of these guys would have been on the MLB bullpen. So yeah, a lot of losses for them this year. But yeah, I mean, it's looking, when Richard Lovelady, Alex Carrillo, and Brandon Waddle are the bottom three in that bullpen. It's Chris Davinsky's making somewhat of a comeback. Not really buying into that, but yeah, they're definitely going to be in the market for at least one, maybe two relievers. And same with Philly. That those two teams in the NL East are going to be battling it out for relievers. So I'm expecting them to see like some trades where, and it was similar to last year, where like we're just going to be blown away by the return for some of these rental relievers. That's going to be the big thing, I feel like, this deadline.
Yes, I have a feeling that is going to be the case as well. Let's move into some more injuries. First, we have JALEN BEEKS of the Diamondbacks, who was placed on the 15-day IL with back inflammation. In a corresponding move, Kendall Graveman was activated from the 15-day IL. He missed around a month with a hip impingement, and most notably, when he returned on Sunday, he pitched the 9th inning with a 4-run lead after Kevin Ginkel faced the top of the order in the 8th inning. So it could be possible that Ginkel is used as more of a high leverage reliever, or that Ginkel and Graveman are interchangeable. So I don't think I would be putting all the eggs in my basket into Ginkel, but neither one is very enticing at this point, as they both have ERAs over 7.
Yeah, it's a really bad situation. And assuming that I saw something today that they're 50-50 on trading Eugenio Suarez. It's like, why are you 50-50? What are you unless you're going to bring him back next year? I don't see why. Like, I would imagine Naylor, Suarez, Gallen, and Kelly are all gone. Unless they were able to bring someone back. But so yeah, this bullpen I'm just staying away from. This team's going to be okay. They're not going to be they're not going to be the worst team in the league over the last 2 months, but it's not worth chasing Ginkel outside of the deeper roto leagues where you just are desperate to climb back into the saves mix. But I don't see Ginkel getting more than maybe 8 or 9 saves the rest of the way, and that's if he pitches well too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with Beeks out, we'll probably see more action for Kyle Backus, who's been really great as a rookie. And then also, as you mentioned, Andrew Salfrank, who is just making his return to the majors. Definitely not the best bullpen there in Arizona. And honestly, you can pin a lot of their struggles this season, the Diamondback struggles, on that bullpen, because they've just dealt with so many significant injuries there. And, the rotation hasn't been incredible either, but that lineup is so good in Arizona. It's surprising that they're unable to keep up with the rest of that division.
They just can't keep pitching. They're pitching healthy. I mean, they're down to Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Pfaadt, and Kevin Ginkel is like they're that's what they're rolling out. I guess Merrill Kelly and Gallen's been hit or miss, but yeah, it's it's not a great time for this Arizona pitching staff. But yeah, hopefully some guys get some chances in the second half. I'd love to see Juan Murillo at least get a chance to close out games if they're not, if they fall out of the race, which they are falling out of the race. But yeah, Murillo's at least an interesting arm that might have some sort of future as maybe not the closer there, but eighth inning guy for them.
Totally. All right. Our other IL placement involves Paul SEEWALD, who was placed on the 15-day IL with a shoulder strain. He just returned from a 2+ month long IL stint related to his shoulder. So not looking good for Paul SEEWALD. I wouldn't expect him back very soon, but we did hype him up a little bit last week after he returned and got a save, but then he blew a save right before the All-Star break on Friday, right after we recorded. So not looking good for Paul SEEWALD. I wouldn't expect him back anytime soon. And I don't know what else much there is to say.
Yeah, it's another one of these where, similar, I guess, with Arizona, like losing Shelby Miller right before the trade deadline. It's you lose if you're kind of competing. Both these teams, Arizona, Cleveland, they're kind of still in the race. But if they're gonna sell, I mean, SeaWald and Shelby Miller would have been good trade assets, but it looks like neither one of them's gonna get moved because they're both injured. I'm guessing SeaWald, I mean, yeah, he already missed 2 months with that shoulder strain. This going back on the IL this close after returning is definitely not a good sign. So especially at his age, it's going to take a little bit longer to recover potentially. So yeah, not guessing that we're going to see much of Paul SeaWald the rest of the year, but who knows? Maybe this is just like a precautionary thing.
Yeah, who knows? He really would have been a good surprise trade chip there coming out of Cleveland, but unfortunate there. And let's close things out with our transactions as DAYSBEL HERNANEZ was optioned to the minors by the Braves. DEDNIEL and Wander Suero were added to the active roster and corresponding moves. Pretty surprising because DAYSBEL's been so good this year. I also haven't heard Wander Suero's name in a while.
What are they doing with this bullpen? Yeah, I missed that one.
It's really preemptive. I mean, he does have a 5.02 xFIP. We've talked all year about how he's been one of the most lucky pitchers because he's got a 2.10 ERA, so almost 3-run difference there.
He's been a lot better though since he came back from off the IL. Missing a lot more bats. I wonder. Yeah, I don't know if Suero and Jesse Chavez probably aren't on this roster for too long. So it might just be a. I'm guessing it's a short-term stint in the minors for DAYSBEL, and especially if they do move Iglesias, some of those other pieces, he'll find his way back up pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Wander Suero. Yeah, I haven't heard that name. That's crazy.
I think that would make sense for DAYSBEL to be back soon. And maybe they're just giving an opportunity to show off guys like Suero so that maybe they could trade them and then just bring Hernandez back up later. Suero at AAA this year, 1.50 ERA in 36 innings with a 34% strikeout rate.
All right. Yeah, that's solid for, I mean, he's 33, but yeah, he was interesting in Washington back in the time, like about when Washington was winning the World Series. It's just been a while since he was kind of been a thing.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there, but that will wrap up our news and notes section from the past week. Next, we'll move into our 3 Up, 3 Down section and our All-Star Game recap, but first, we're going to take a quick break here on In the Pen. And we're back. Jake Crumpler here with Rick Graham on In the Pen discussing relief pitchers. We are heading into our 3 Up, 3 Down section where we discuss the closers rising and falling on Rick's closer ranks. But this is going to be our All-Star Game edition as we discuss the relievers that pitched in the All-Star Game. So let's start with our risers and begin with Andres Munoz, who tossed 0 2/3 scoreless innings in the All-Star Game, walking 1 while striking out 1. Why is he rising up your ranks, or is this just completely All-Star Game specific?
Yeah, I figured since we last talked, there's only been 3 games, so let's talk about the All-Star Game and the AL. The AL relievers did really good. The AL relievers are the reason why that game went into the home run derby, which I don't know. I thought you were going to lead the show with your thoughts on, or what were your thoughts on the home run derby to end
Hey,
the All-Star
please share
break.
them now. You're welcome to.
I like it. I don't know. I know there's been a lot of talk about it as like a regular season, a way to break a tie in the regular season, but
I don't know about that.
yeah, there's just too many components to it. Like, because my first thought when I didn't even realize that's where the All-Star game was going, and then when they started talking about it, I'm like, okay, who's throwing? Like it's got to be so it's going to be an assistant who, probably throws a lot of BP, but these guys aren't even used to, like, it was like Ebel for the Dodgers who. So if you're, I don't know. It's just, I feel like there's ways to kind of not cheat, but game the system a little bit. If this was a regular season thing, I just feel like it's not the fairest way, obviously, but comparing that to like the ghost runner on second base, I mean, there was that was a really good product. That was a fun way to end a game, but I don't know. I feel like if the game gets into the 12th inning or something, like maybe that's when you pulled this out, but I wouldn't do it any earlier than that, I think, and definitely not in the postseason.
No, I mean, I'm a big proponent of just doing ties if they're going to, make things sort of uncompetitive at the end. I know it sort of sucks, but like if we're going into like that sort of territory where it's like anything can happen, we're not even playing real baseball anymore. We're just doing home run derby. Then, might as well just count it as a tie and just do the home run derby for fun. But it definitely was fun in the All-Star game. And I was glad that they finally got to show that off. And Kyle Schwarber, I mean, that was so dope.
So the only thing is like, hockey is definitely, it's definitely been a positive impact with like the NHL going to the 3-on-3 for the first overtime and then like to the shootout. So that's my only comparison where I feel like this could work similar to how hockey changed their overtime rules, but it's still a little bit different. Just the fact that you have like someone like a member of the coaching staff impacting it, because like the guy throwing BP is like really the most important. I mean, obviously the power is there. You need someone like that's not Jonathan Aranda to be hitting.
How did Aaron Boone screw that up?
I don't know. I don't know who was
so
left
many
on the
choices.
bench. I know
it didn't have. Did it have to be players that hadn't already been taken out of the game?
But people were saying like some of the starters, like they get out of there in the 4th inning and then they literally just leave. Like so. Yeah, so not sure who was even like literally on the bench for them, but still, I feel like there was probably better options. I mean, Buxton was still there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just something weird about like having like a member of the staff actually impact the outcome of a game on the field. That's the like one sticking point for me.
I agree. Well, back to Andres Munoz. He pitched in that game and he looked pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, he kept them in the game. There was not a lot of relievers that did much this game, but Munoz came in, got a strikeout, kept the AL, gave him a chance to at least get to the swing off. So, he looked his typical self. Nothing that happened from this game really changes my opinion on these guys moving forward. But yeah, Munoz looked good.
All right. Well, next we've got AROLDIS CHAPMAN, who closed things out for the AL side before the home run derby, and he looked great once again. It is incredible how good of a season he's having at his age and still being able to throw as hard as he is. 37 years old, and he's had one of maybe the best season of his career so far. 1.18 ERA, a strikeout rate over 40%, and looked great in the All-Star game as well.
Yeah, he looks unbelievable right now. This is the best he's ever looked. And you heard, I heard a couple of the guys like talking like before the game, like a couple of interviews, and it's there's a lot of, and we talked about, who was it? Dennis Santana talked about how when Chapman got there last year, that the Chapman turns his career around, and there were a lot of these younger Latin players who were like really like they love AROLDIS CHAPMAN, like that's the guy that they all look up to. And they were like all, they all mentioned him as someone they were excited to meet and like talk to. So yeah, it was, he was lights out again in that game. And I still, as a Red Sox fan, I want the Red Sox to compete this year, but I would still be trading Chapman because someone's going to give you a ridiculous. I mean, the way he's
Right.
pitching right now, the impact he could have if he continues this, down the stretch, which I want to believe, but we've never seen Chapman do this for a full season. Like, when does he start walking 3 guys in a row to start an inning? Like, that hasn't happened once this year. That happens at least 10 times, like every year of his career. It's just been an anomaly this year. But I'm still trading Chapman if I'm the Red Sox, and I do think that they're on the same page. But yeah, it's he'll help out. He'll be helping out someone down the stretch. It's incredible what he's doing at his age.
Yeah. I mean, I think no matter how well Chapman was performing this year, he should be traded because, as you mentioned, there's going to be just be a huge return for him, really, no matter what. But if he was performing poorly, then it's shouldn't have a problem trading him because he's easily replaceable. And if he's performing as well as he is, there's really no reason to keep him because the return just could be so incredible. And there's no way that like losing Aroldis Chapman is going to kill whatever postseason chances you had in the first place. I know.
Too.
Yeah, the Red Sox have been doing really well closing out the All-Star break. Didn't they win like 10 in a row or something?
Yeah, they're on a 10-game winning streak right now.
Yeah, and wasn't that like directly after meeting the president?
Yes, it is somewhat, but it's also because they played the Nationals, the Rockies, and then they played the Rays, who were limping into Fenway last week. So they've had a very easy schedule. Their schedule coming out of the break is a lot tougher though. That's going to be make or break how they play. I think it's going to come as far as if the Red Sox are going to be buyers or sellers. It's going to come down to like a day or two before the deadline.
Why did they go to the Capitol? Just because they were there?
A couple, yeah. It was only a couple of guys. It was like half the team went to the White House, half the team went to the zoo or something. Yeah, it was like their family was there. They wanted to tour the White House, and yeah.
But like most teams don't do that, right?
It's weird. Then the media. I mean, yeah, like the pictures and everything.
Right. It does not look good, especially with how everything's going.
No, it was bad timing.
I mean, even like both sides of the political spectrum are like probably not huge fans of that move. Really, really weird. But looks like it's pumped up the morale there. I also seen a lot of. Go ahead.
Alex Gore had mentioned that the last time they were in Washington, I think was 2018, and they went to the White House, and then they went on like a big winning streak as well. So yeah, that also played into it. Yeah.
I also saw a bunch of like videos of Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer just like out at clubs, like with a bunch of girls.
They're just hanging around Boston. Yeah.
They're just like, oh, the Red Sox are back. Look at these guys. They're pulling chicks. So that was pretty interesting, pretty funny. But yeah, Red Sox are on fire. They should trade Aroldis Chapman no matter what. The next guy we'll talk about on our risers is Carlos Estevez, who actually looked incredible in the All-Star game. He allowed a hit and a walk across an inning, but he didn't allow a run to score, and he struck out 3, which is the most strikeouts of any reliever. And Carlos Estevez is not somebody who struck out a lot of batters this year, so it was pretty interesting. He's a guy with a 20% strikeout rate on the year, and yet he had the most strikeouts by a single pitcher in the game.
Yeah, he had. I mean, he was getting some big swings and misses. I think guys were trying to take him deep, and his stuff still didn't look all that exciting. But the 3 strikeouts, that's something I don't think maybe he's done once this year. So, especially in the All-Star game, we'll take that from Carlos Estevez. And he again, these 3 kept the AL in the game and gave them a chance at least and to swing off.
Yeah, pretty interesting. I know we've been down on Carlos Estevez, but I don't think this changes anything for me. I still feel like a second half downfall is probably coming for him. I am not sort of believing in a 2.36 ERA holding throughout the year, especially when he's got a xFIP of 4.96, suggesting negative regression moving forward. So maybe now's a good time to sell high on Carlos Estevez while the stock is just about as high as it's ever going to get.
Yeah, and I wonder if the Royals kick the tires on that too. I mean, he's not a free agent until 2027, but
and that's he's got a club option for that year too.
So maybe they try to get out ahead. And I don't know. I'm guessing they won't because they just brought in Adam Frazier, which is kind of a weird move. But I'm guessing Estevez stays put.
All right. And the other 2 guys that pitched relatively well, but in minimal stints were Jason Adam and Trevor McGill. They each faced one batter, as you mentioned. Adam, though, got a hold with 1 out and 1 strikeout, and McGill also got a hold as he got just 1 out in the field. Both of these guys have been incredible this year. Jason Adam pitched really early in the game. I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd inning.
He came in after Kershaw, in the 2nd inning.
Yeah, I can't believe they put Kershaw in that game, but
yeah, he was funny mic'd up though. That was pretty good stuff. But yeah, Adam struck at Ryan O'Hearn, which is just like the AL. This AL lineup. I know, like, I'm not saying these guys didn't deserve to be starters, but like the AL lineup just felt weak. Javi Baez and Ryan O'Hearn, and it's like these are solid players, but like, I mean, I don't know how they're starting in the All-Star game. Doesn't really feel right. But yeah, I mean, Adam looked good for his 1 batter, Ryan O'Hearn, and McGill got a ground out, I think, to end an inning as well.
Nice. Yeah, McGill's been great this year and just continues to get better, it seems. Yeah. No problem there with those guys. So as those guys rise up this hypothetical all-star game list, others have to fall to accommodate them. So we'll look at our guys who didn't perform too well in the all-star game, including or starting with Robert Suarez, who did record a hold based on the 1 out that he got, but he did allow 2 runs on 2 hits, walking nobody while striking out nobody. It was a rough game for Padres relievers not named Jason Adam.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, Suarez, I guess, blew the save, and it was not, it was a little bit nickel and dimed. It wasn't like he was getting hit totally hard, but yeah, there's I'm not gonna judge Suarez based off this outing, but there is still, like, similar to Estevez, there's some worry of some negative regression hitting him in the second half. So that's my takeaway for the second half. But from this game, it was just, he's facing good hitters who were trying to scrape together two runs to get the game into the potential walk or about 10th inning, which is the home run derby. But between Suarez and Morejon, it was not great for Padres relievers.
Yeah, speaking of Morejon, he didn't even get anybody out while allowing 2 runs on a hit and a walk. So not a great game for Morejon either, who was the last entrant to the All-Star game. I remember you sent me the tweet of him being added to the game, and I was just so surprised, not because he didn't pitch well, but because we went 2 podcasts of basically discussing who could be in the All-Star game. And I don't think either of us ever mentioned Adrian Morejon. I mean, 1.85 ERA, 25% strikeout rate in the first half. Really great season for him. But there seemed to be, maybe equally deserving candidates that were more notable and more noticeable. Exactly. Palencia had better stats than Morejon and was a closer. So it was sort of confusing to see Morejon added. And then on top of that, it was just like the 3rd Padres reliever. Like, we can't get any more representation.
That's the thing. I mean, honestly, between the 3 Padres who made it, I kind of like Morejon better than Suarez and Adam. But but the fact that you already had Adam and then you added Suarez, like, did you have to add Morejon too? When there's a bunch of starters who deserve to be in. And then Palencia, I think David Bednar, Ronnie Henriquez, Shelby Miller, who was injured, but he was. By the way, I did just get an update on Shelby Miller while we were talking, and it sounds like it says Shelby Miller returned to playing catch today, which I guess the second opinion was good.
Yeah.
If he's throwing. So yeah, maybe Shelby Miller will be back, or maybe they just want him to play catch so he can get traded. I don't know. But yeah, the Padres having 3 relievers was a little too much.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Other NL West relievers that struggled include Randy Rodriguez, who got just 1 out, but he allowed 1 hit and 1 walk, as well as 1 earned, including 2 runs total. So 2 runs, 1 earned. He struck out nobody. So Randy Rodriguez was maybe one of the most lights out, maybe the most lights out reliever in baseball in the first half, 0.86 ERA. So he allowed, I think, pretty close to as many runs as he allowed during the regular season in this one All-Star game. Yeah. And how many home runs has he allowed this year? I mean, maybe none. Just shows 1. I mean, Brett runs. So yeah, Brett Rooker's still so underrated even after this week. He's so good.
then yeah, Rooker's the one who took him deep and kind of got the AL back into into the game. But yeah, I was like, do you think Dave Roberts kind of secretly was like okay with the NL West bullpen guys just getting blown up in this game? Like,
yeah,
it's it's not his guys, it's all the rivals in that division. But yeah, I was surprised to see. I mean, Rodriguez getting barreled up. Definitely a surprise.
Yeah, definitely. And then to close this section out, Edwin Diaz allowed some inherited runners to score from Robert Suarez to blow the save. He got 2 outs, but he did allow a hit while striking out 1. So not a great appearance for Edwin Diaz, but you can't really blame him. He was sort of put in a sticky situation, and ultimately he did have a pristine ERA in the All-Star game. But I always think it's sort of messed up to get tagged with a blown save when you're coming in and dealing with inherited runners.
If the run's going to the other guy, so shouldn't the blown save. But,
right. Yeah, it's like Suarez got the hold and Diaz gets the blown save, and it's like, okay, who pitched worse?
And that's why holds are kind of broken as well, and there needs to be a better stat. But anyway, Diaz, I mean, I don't know if you saw that Stephen Kwan had the hit. It was like a tapper to third base that he just beat out, infield hit. Wasn't anything hard. So but yeah, that's the reason why I went to a swing off. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say Diaz pitched bad, but he didn't, his job is to close out the game no matter the situation. So I guess, I get it that, the blown save does kind of make sense because, he didn't technically do his job, but it's a tough situation to begin with.
I don't know. I think MLB is happy with how things turned out because I was not watching the game and I got a notification like swing off incoming. I was like, okay, I gotta turn this game on. I think this is gonna be dope. And I was really glad I tuned in because I'm not like the biggest fan of the All-Star game. I think it's fun with the being mic'd up and it's better than all the other All-Star games, but there's not much incentive to tune in. But when I saw it was going into swing off, I was definitely excited to see how that was going to go.
Yeah, that I was, planning. I wasn't planning to stay up that late, but once they started talking about the swing off, I'm like, okay, I'm not missing this. I just wish the AL put out a little bit of a better product. They started great with Worker, and then things just fell apart. Yeah.
Well, that will wrap up our 3 up, 3 down section. We talked about every single relief pitcher that pitched in the All-Star game, and we talked about the good ones, and we talked about the bad ones. Next, we'll move into our main topic and talk about the relievers that are trending up and trending down over the past couple of months by looking at some advanced stats leaderboards. But first, we're going to take another break here on In the Pen. And we're back. Jake Crumpler here with Rick Graham on In the Pen discussing relief pitchers. We're heading into our main topic and discussing relievers that are trending up or down and moving through some advanced stats leaderboards. So let's jump right into the leaderboards, starting with xFIP. And I think we're going to just pick out some notable names. But honestly, I do want to point out Griffin Jax on the top of all these lists because there was some concern earlier in the season that Jax maybe was falling off a little bit because he wasn't performing super well, but the stuff was still there and the underlying metrics supported it. So I am happy to say that Griffin Jax still got it. He's still dope, and he's probably going to be a very interesting trade candidate. If he's actually on the trade block, then he could net a huge return because he's so good.
I do wonder, and so we're looking at stats for the last 2 months. By the way, so Jax and Chapman have been far and away above everyone else as far as xFIP goes. But I do feel like there's been a lot of talk about Duran, but I feel like Jax is going to be the hotter commodity. I feel like teams are going to be more interested in Jax.
He's more flexible.
Yeah, more flexible. I think they're thinking they're going to get a little bit more. They're not going to have to give up as much for Jax as they would for Duran. Yeah. So I feel like Jax is going to be asked about more. Honestly, I feel like he might be the one who gets traded out of the two of them. I do think one of them gets moved, though. I feel like it's probably time for them to move one and get some offensive help in there, or maybe a starter.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really push your luck. You really don't want to push your luck with relievers either, because you never know either when they get injured or they could just fall apart. They just have a couple months where they're just terrible, and then all of a sudden their trade value just falls into the dumpster. So
Right.
definitely want to avoid that. And right now, I think Jax and Yohan Duran are hot commodities. And I think the Twins would be smart to try to deal those guys. Moving down the list, Ronnie Henriquez stands out. He's got a 2.47 xFIP over the past couple of months as he's taken over the closer role in Miami. Just every week, I'm just so floored just to be talking about it. I'm like, yes, I called it. But he's been really good this year. Clearly, far and away the best reliever in that Marlins bullpen with a strikeout rate well beyond anybody else's. But 2.60 ERA, 34% strikeout rate on the season as well for Ronnie Henriquez.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this list, it's Griffin Jax, Aroldis, Chapman, Edwin Diaz, Devin Williams, and then Ronnie Henriquez, basically. So, yeah, I mean, that's the type of company he's keeping right now, of how well he's been. Definitely, speaking of the Twins, I'm sure they would like to have him back. Just give him another option to keep or trade or whatever. But yeah, Henriquez, I do wonder what long term, because I think we talked. I mean, maybe he can shift back into the rotation at some point, but he might just be, he's kind of smaller built. Maybe he just needs to stay in a relief role to maximize his career, I guess. So either way, I mean, the Marlins have a future, high leverage guy for the next couple of years with Henriquez there.
Definitely. And speaking of future closers, Grant Taylor of the White Sox has been incredible over the past couple of months. I mean, his stuff is certainly undeniable as he can touch 100 miles per hour. There is, you look at the ERA and it's over 4 and you start to say, okay, well, maybe how good is he? But the underlying metrics suggest Taylor is dope. And that sort of gets me hyped for next year, but also makes me think the White Sox are going to just move him back to the rotation. But you never know. It could be like Josh Hader, where he was just a starter throughout his minor league career, found success in the bullpen, and then just never looked back. But Grant Taylor has been really great this year, 2.58 xFIP, which is much lower than his 4.70 ERA over the past couple months.
Yeah, is he going to go the Mason Miller or Josh Hader route, or is he going to go the Garrett Crochet, I don't know, Michael King route or whatever? So I feel like they should probably try him in the rotation at some point next year. But yeah, he's looked great as a reliever so far. I would love to see them just give him all the saves there, but I don't know. It could probably have something partially to do with saving some money by not giving him save totals, but also they probably don't want to put too much on his plate since he's only 15 innings into his MLB career. But yeah, Taylor's still fun arm to keep an eye on in Chicago. Only bullpen arm there that I'm interested in.
Definitely. Next down the list, we've got Brian Baker, who was notably traded from the Orioles to the Rays. And we were pretty excited about that one because Baker has been so good this year. He's got a lot of control. So I think a very smart move by the Rays. And he's been really good this year. Ultimately, the last couple of outings for him have been rough, but xFIP still loves him. He's got a 5.40 ERA over the past couple months, which is reflective of those past couple of outings. But 2.64 xFIP suggests that Brian Baker is still dope.
Yeah, the All-Star break couldn't have come at a better time for someone like him. Because that last outing in Baltimore, was willing to chalk that up to just being fluky, and then his first outing with Tampa Bay was just a weird, he had just been traded 5 hours before he made his appearance. So it's just a weird situation for him, but I'm still buying into him in the second half. I think what we saw for the majority of the first half was real, and he has a pretty good half to become an important piece in that Tampa Bay bullpen, whether or not they trade guys like Fairbanks or anyone else there.
All right. Next, we've got Aaron Ashby, who I have always been a big fan of. And while his ERA has been really good over the past 2 months, honestly, besting his xFIP, which is at 2.68. His ERA has been under 2. I've always been a huge fan of Aaron Ashby. Most notably, I think I tweeted about him a couple years ago, and I just always go back to that tweet because there was one outing where he pitched out of the bullpen and just had multiple whiffs on all of his pitches. He's got really incredible stuff. The Brewers sort of mix around how they use him, sometimes using him in short stints and sometimes using him in long. And I don't know if that affects him a lot, but still on the season, 1.66 ERA, 30% strikeout rate. I think Aaron Ashby's really underrated and could quickly become the top left-handed option in Milwaukee if he wasn't somebody that had the ability to go multiple innings.
Yeah, that's the thing too, and he doesn't have any holds on the season. I mean, he's only been back for 21 innings, but yeah, eventually he's another guy. I want to see him in the rotation next year potentially, but for now, I feel like he should. I know they really like Koenig, but I just feel like Ashby is a lot better option for them as far as that top left-handed setup option could be. But yeah, I'd expect him to start getting more holds, just getting holds in general over the second half. And it doesn't look like there's any way he gets back into the rotation this year. But I think that's ultimately he's got too much. His stuff's too good. It's similar to like Reed Detmers. I feel like they both deserve a chance in the rotation again once they're fully healthy. But they've both been great in the bullpen this year, so it's tough to deny that. But we saw Chris Bubich change. Last year he was great in the bullpen after struggling as a starter for so long, and yeah, look how he's been as a starter this season. So it's kind of my hope for Detmers and Ashby next year.
Yeah, it's always the dilemma is whether or not to take somebody who's finding success in their role and try them out in a more substantial role.
And it doesn't work. It didn't work with AJ Puck, but even still, back. They tried it with Puck. It didn't work. They moved on quickly, and then he went back to being an elite reliever again. So
yeah,
at least give those guys a chance next year. But yeah, for this year, I would expect Ashby to just be a multi-inning reliever. But I hope towards the playoffs they start looking at him as more of a 7th, 8th inning guy who can get some holds.
All right, to close out the xFIP leaderboard, we'll talk about Angel Serpa, who's got a 2.81 xFIP over the past couple of months, accompanied by a 1.85 ERA. He is a southpaw for the Kansas City Royals, the #1 southpaw in that bullpen, and in a bullpen that doesn't really have a lot of standout arms. I mean, it's sort of Carlos Estevez, Lucas Erceg, and everybody else. Serpa is sort of standing out as the next best option behind those two.
Yeah, this one surprised me. That's kind of why I put him on here or bolded him, because I've mostly been down on Zerpa over the past couple of years. But yeah, it looks like I haven't been digging too deep into Zerpa, but it looks like he's made some changes and starting to trend the right way. And I they have Lynch there too as the other lefty, but I feel like Zerpa is the best option of the two moving forward. And honestly, that bullpen is so I don't know really who to trust anymore there. I know they've all put up pretty solid numbers, but I feel like that's just the effect of pitching for the Royals and that division and that ballpark and all that. But I feel like Zerpa's kind of climbing up the pecking order for me in Kansas City as far as guys I would trust for holds. But nothing actionable. Yeah, I still don't think he's like he's not like a top 50 option or anything. But yeah, someone to start keeping an eye on because they love Zerpa there. I mean, they use him a lot. They use him in high leverage spots, so he'll get chances to get holds for sure.
All right. Well, that'll wrap up the xFIP leaderboard. Let's move over to Sierra, where we're looking at pretty similar numbers, but slightly different. So we'll get a few different names, guys, that stand out here. Ronnie Henriquez is up here again with the 1.86 Sierra. The first guy, though, we'll talk about is Gabe Spear, who's got a 2.08 Sierra over the past couple of months. That's accompanied by a 2.91 ERA. We talked about him very early in the season after he struggled mightily last year and looked to be back on track. And he's just been really dope all year long. Top left-handed option in Seattle, 35% strikeout rate on the season and 10 holds to go with that as well.
Yeah, it's frustrating a little bit because he's been so good. He's been by far their best, reliever behind Andres Munoz. But he only has 10 holds, and his usage has been a little bit hit or miss as far as holds go because they use him in certain situations earlier in games, or even in games where he can't get a hold. So it's the one frustrating part of Spear, because if he had 20 holds right now, like we would be talking about him a little bit differently in save hold leagues, but only 10 holds now. And I think even, I mean, like Matt Brash, who came in later, probably has more holds than him.
He's already up to 10 as well.
Yeah, so they're
15 fewer innings.
Right. Little frustrating, but I still love Spear. Again, we've talked about him a little bit this year, heading into last year. He's one of the best lefties when his velo's right, and it has been this year. So he's had a couple road bumps, lately, but still these numbers are good. Even 2.91 ERA over the last 2 months, but still comes with a 9.97 WHIP. So yeah, looking forward to a big second half from Gabe Spear.
All right. Next, we'll discuss Braden Fisher, who has been an incredible revelation out of the Blue Jays bullpen. He's slowed down a little bit recently, but he's still been so good this year. And Sierra loves him. 2.19 Sierra over the past couple of months. And that's accompanied by a pretty nice 0.69 ERA as well. On the season, though, he's got a 2.22 ERA and a 32% strikeout rate, and seems to be rising up that bullpen ladder in Toronto, and is been entrusted in a lot of high leverage situations as they closed out the first half.
Yeah, the recent struggles, I guess, are a little concerning because his fastball is just not good, but the two breaking balls are really good. And as long as he's able to command those, he should be fine. The fastball should be survivable, but he's throwing those breakers 80% of the time anyway. So, but yeah, like that Yankee game, when he falls behind, it gets into trouble really quickly, because it's either he's got to telegraph a breaking ball over the plate, or he's got to try to throw a fastball over the plate, and things get messy. But I'm trying to think of like a good comp for him, because it's a weird approach. But
you were saying, I feel like you were saying Scott Barlow.
Yeah, like kind of Scott Barlow-y, because Barlow had, he was a big curveball slider guy, and then his fastball was kind of his third pitch with the Royals, and he's still kind of doing it now too. But yeah, I guess Scott Barlow's my comp. There's probably a better one out there, but if he is, Scott Barlow, that's pretty good. That's a solid. I think the Blue Jays would take that from Braden Fisher, who's definitely gotten off to a really hot start. But let's see how hitters adjust to his kind of unique approach.
Yeah. Moving down the list, we see Aaron Ashby and Brian Baker again. And then right below them is Bennett Sousa, who is on basically all these lists as well. He's got a 2.37 Sierra over the past couple of months, accompanied by 2.28 ERA. And he's been quietly one of the best relievers in an elite Houston bullpen on the season. 32% strikeout rate, 2.17 ERA for Bennett Sousa. He's got 3 saves and 4 holds as well, which is interesting because Brian Abreu has 0 saves. So it seems like every time Josh Hader needs a break, the Astros are turning to another left-handed option in Bennett Sousa.
Yeah, I would have to check. I do know at least one of those saves were when Hader was off. I don't know about the other two, or if they were extra innings situations, or
there was one that I remember where Hader had pitched only one day in a row. Had pitched one day, and then Sousa just got the save out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was in Colorado or something, but
that's right.
But the 4 holds are still super frustrating, and like we think Spear having 10 holds on the year is frustrating. Sousa having only 4. Because, they have Steven Okert and Brian King, the other 2 lefties outside of Josh Hader, who are soaking up holds there. But I'd have to – I mean, Sousa's been the best of and Sousa and Okert have been very close. I feel like both of them are better than King right now. So I'm hoping, we start seeing more holds from Sousa. If he does start being a regular holds guy for them, I mean, he moves into the top 10 probably for me as far as holds guys go. He's been so good this season. Like you said, he's on all of these lists for a reason. It's just again that really the Astros need to trade a lefty for a righty, some sort of weird, good reliever for good reliever trade, which you never see, but it could happen. I mean, the Astros they 4 unreal lefties in that bullpen that is just a little much. Just move one for a righty, and then give Brian Abreu some help as far as getting righties out in that bullpen goes.
Yeah, it's sort of crazy how much success he's finding with his two pitch mix because his stuff isn't overwhelming. I mean, he throws in the mid 90s, but his fastball doesn't have incredible shape. PLV doesn't suggest that these are, obscene pitches, putting them in around the 60th percentile for both of them. But the swinging strike rate he gets on his slider is in the 97th percentile. And the fastball he keeps low in the zone and it gets a ton of ground balls and pairs well with the slider. So maybe there's a little bit of funkiness with Sousa, but I'm sort of unsure why he's had so much success this year. But his pitcher list page is painted red.
I think it's like mostly that slider usage going up and him locating better. But yeah, the four seam is nothing to write home about. But the slider is just, it's been crazy effective this year with that almost 30% swing and strike rate. Maybe hitters start, maybe there's some trends here. Hitters start laying off of it a little bit more, but zone rate's at 43%, which isn't too bad. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like these numbers kind of are here to stay for Sousa. Maybe they'll take a little bit of a hit, but I still think he's going to be really effective for the Astros down the stretch.
All right. Next, we'll talk about Jose A. Ferrer of the Nationals, who struggled really early in the season and has been trying his best to recover. He's still got an ERA over 5 on the season and a strikeout rate under 20%. But Sierra has really liked him over the past couple of months. 2.40 Sierra for Ferrer and a 3.18 ERA to accompany that. So even if you're not a big believer in Sierra, he has been a much better reliever according to ERA over the past couple of months. And on top of that, the Nationals just continue to trust him. 17 holds on the season as he's, their top setup option behind Kyle Finnegan, who could be traded, which could possibly set up Ferrer to be the closer in the second half.
Yeah, I really hope he does get a chance to close. He's not a prototypical slider or closer, but I feel like he should be steadier than his ERA shows. Not going to be a huge strikeout guy, but that being said, his stuff can play up. I think it can be better. I think he can get more swing and miss. This is kind of what we saw from Robert Garcia in Washington last year, and he had this bad luck and then got traded to Texas, and now he's getting good luck all of a sudden, or maybe it's just because he's out of Washington. I don't know. The Keeber Ruiz is like one of the worst defensive catchers in baseball, so I'm sure that plays a factor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Ferrer's overall stuff, and 0.88 whip over the last 28 innings for him. I mean, he doesn't walk anyone. It's left-handed, but gets a lot of ground balls. And I do think the slider and the changeup can get a little bit more swing and miss for him. So yeah, I'm hoping he gets a chance to close, but we'll see. I know the only other option is Lord, Bradley Lord, who has been okay, but doesn't exactly blow me away. Doesn't scream this guy needs to be closing when Kyle Finnegan gets traded. So I hope Ferrer gets a chance, because I feel like he's at least throws hard and gets ground balls and doesn't walk people. So that might be the best option for them.
Yeah, gets a ton of ground balls. Maybe if he cut back on the sinker usage, he could get more whiffs.
Yeah, I feel like he needs to really maybe either change his slider, throw a cutter. I don't know. He needs to get some sort of breaking ball that's a little bit better than that slider, or just tweak it a little bit. And don't throw sinkers 71% of the time. Bring that down. And but that might be more of an off-season thing for him.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, next we've got Edwin Uceta, who continues to be trusted by the Rays, even though his ERA is sky high. But it's 6.38 ERA, 1.42 WHIP over the past couple of months, but that comes with a 2.47 Sierra for Uceta. So definitely a lot of poor luck there. And so if you were confused why the Rays keep turning to him and why he's still one of their top setup options, leading the team with 14 holds, that's the reason why. It's because he's just been unlucky this year. I mean, definitely a step back from last year in terms of his stuff and his effectiveness, but I do think there is a higher level for him to reach than he's been pitching in the first half.
He's missing bats again at like a crazy high rate, so that at least is there.
Second half breakout again.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. the he's already matched his usage from last year, innings wise. So that's a thing. And I know I've seen like a lot of people comment on it, like raise people on Twitter, like he's just been overused. I feel like that whole bullpen pretty much has been overused, and that's why we see some of the struggles we have. So, hopefully this All-Star break, going into the next half of the season, he's rested and can start getting those ratios back to where they were last year. Because like everything else, the swing and miss stuff is there. This is a nice Sierra, and Sierra looks good at 2.47, but the 6.38 ERA is not rosterable. So, no. Hopefully better things are to come for him in the second half. Definitely a buy low option for me. He's probably free in almost any league at this point. So
for sure,
someone to take a look at, just because the upside we saw in the second half last year is tantalizing, to say the least.
All right, that'll wrap up the Sierra leaderboard. Next, we'll move into strikeout rate. I'll mention a couple names we've already discussed. Ronnie Henriquez at 37%, Gabe Spear at 37% as well, Edwin Uceta at 37%. But we'll talk about more in depth Anthony Dominguez, who's got a 35% strikeout rate over the past couple of months and looking very good this year. We haven't really seen him be somebody with a massive strikeout rate like that for a while. I mean, last year it was sort of eye-opening to see him getting close to 27%. And I think once he was traded, it was much better. He was at 29% once he got traded to the Orioles in the second half. But to see him over 30% on the season and setting a career high is definitely noteworthy.
Yeah, he's putting together a nice couple months here after a slow start. And even the way he finished last season heading into like this April, I was kind of out on him for the most part. I know he's one of those guys who the stuff pluses always look good for him, no matter what. Just everything else hasn't looked good. But now, the last 2 months, he's starting to miss bats again. ERA at 2.81. He's at least, giving the Orioles a nice trade chip, because he's going to get traded in the next couple weeks. So where he ends up, I mean, you think about a team that really just needs bullpen help, and does he go back to Philly? Is that on the table? That might be an answer for Philly. But there's a ton of, every team should be interested in him at this point. So yeah, we'll see where he lands. I don't see a spot, maybe the Phillies, but I don't really see a spot where he go, or Phillies or Texas were to do something like this, but I don't see a spot really where he ends up closing games. But still moving up the ladder and holds leagues. And I'd imagine if a team trades for him, they're going to at least have him in the holds mix. Unless it's the Dodgers and they just want like a fifth inning guy that they can trust. But yeah.
Moving down the list, Braden Fisher's got a 35% strikeout rate of the past couple of months, and his bullpen mate Brendan Little is at 34%, and he's just been so good all year. An elite ground ball pitcher as well, pitching from the left side, 2.03 ERA, 35% strikeout rate on the season. Just an incredible season from Brendan Little, and just that Blue Jays bullpen is just off the charts.
Yeah, the literal bat missing ability with him is crazy, because it's not just the strikeouts, but he also has a 15% walk rate. So he's missing bats one way or another. He's kind of like not even a 3 true. He's like a 2 true outcome guy. He's a strikeout. It's either a strikeout or a walk with him, or strikeout, walk, or ground ball.
Rate, yeah,
it's strikeout, ground ball, or walk. So that's kind of him as a 3 true outcome guy. But it's still, the whip aside, if you're able to kind of counteract the high whip with him, he's a great holds option for ERA and strikeout numbers, and he's got 17 holds on the year. So he's the top lefty there. Doesn't have any competition as far as lefties go in that Toronto bullpen. So he should have a good second half lined up for him.
That's Brendan Little. Moving down the list, Brian Baker at a 33% strikeout rate, and Phil Maton at a 33% strikeout rate as well, pitching really well for the Cardinals this year. And that's somewhat surprising for a guy that struggles to top 90 miles per hour with his fastball, but he's been really good this year. 2.55 ERA, as I mentioned, the strikeout rate over 30% over the past couple of months. And he does lead the Cardinals with 18 holds. The Cardinals, I don't think are going to be trading anybody. So, they're still sort of in it, because I was going to say if Helsley gets traded, maybe Maton steps up. But I think if anybody's getting traded before Helsley, it'd probably be Maton. But I don't think they're going to trade anybody. That bullpen's been very underrated this year in St. Louis.
Yeah, that's another team where the next 2 weeks are going to determine if they buy or sell, I'm guessing. If he does go, I mean, yeah, this is the Phil Maton we were expecting last year when the Rays signed him, and then he got off to such a bad just didn't fit in with that Rays system. Didn't really work in New York either for him, but yeah, St. Louis has been a great landing spot for him. I wonder, maybe they look to keep him around for another year or two, because there's this bullpen. If they do lose Helsley and Maton in the offseason, like, this bullpen needs to be completely remade because there's no one there. So yeah, if they do move on from Helsley and Maton, I think they would either be bringing in some relief help, or I don't know. There's really no depth in that bullpen right now.
Yeah. Next, we'll discuss Reed Detmers, who's been really great since moving to the bullpen. We actually haven't seen him find this much success really at any point in his career, but he does have a 33% strikeout rate and a 1.29 ERA over the past couple of months. Don't think that ERA is going to hold, basically just based on the 1.21 whip that he has over that time. But Reed Detmers definitely looking really good out of the Angels bullpen. And if they do trade Kenley Jansen, which I don't see as being likely, because Jansen is probably going to nix any trade that keeps him out of a closer role, Detmers may be one of the first men up, because he's been really good this year out of the bullpen.
Yeah, and they're still kind of fighting for a playoff spot somehow. This team is still in it. But yeah, Detmers, super exciting as a bullpen guy, because that fastball going up to 96 miles per hour has been a huge difference maker for him. Getting good IVB on it too, almost 18 inches. So I mean, that fastball's playing up. I mean, PLV loves it. PLV loves his slider too, which is getting a ton of whiffs. Yeah, maybe he's made for the bullpen, but I still would like to see him potentially start again. But if Jansen does get traded for this season, I do think Detmers would be the next man up. Because Zephyr John's falling apart. Furman's interesting, but he's young. I don't really know who else they could turn to. So I think Detmers would get a chance, and that's exciting. That could be exciting. Someone to look at for second half value, because Detmers has been awesome as a reliever, especially lately.
All right, wrapping up the strikeout rate leaderboard, Garrett Clevenger's on the bottom, 32.5% strikeout rate over the past couple of months. So that Ray's bullpen is looking really good, and Pete Fairbanks has got to be a little bit scared for his job, because they've got so many good options there. But Garrett Clevenger has been very reliable all year, sub-3 ERA, 33% strikeout rate, 13 holds. Just another great season for Garrett Clevenger, one of the, I don't know, maybe one of the more underrated relievers in all of baseball. Nobody ever talks about him.
I was going to say that too, and last year was a little bumpy for him, but going back to 22, 23, he was really good as well. So he's just one of those really underrated left-handed relievers in the game. And yeah, you talk about Fairbanks. I mean, Fairbanks could be traded. I mean, the Rays are out of the playoffs right now. Fairbanks, there's been talk that the Rays would trade him. I think ESPN gave him a 60% chance of Fairbanks being traded. I think that sounds about right. I could see Fairbanks on the move. And then what do the Rays do? I mean, we talked about Uceta and Baker already. Now here's Clevenger. Do they kind of go back to like an old school Rays mentality where they mix and match those three? Or does one of the righties get it? Or do they go to Clevenger, who Clevenger has at least been their most consistent reliever? Baker just got there, and Uceta's had his struggles this year that we talked about. So I feel like Clevenger might deserve it of the group, but it might leave them short as far as lefties go, unless they bring Mason Montgomery back up.
That's probably likely if Fairbanks gets traded.
Yeah.
So that will wrap up our strikeout rate leaderboard. Let's take a quick look at the strikeout minus walk rate leaderboard, which is usually your best indicator of future success. It is one of the simpler stats, but is one of the best indicators of future performance. Mentioning some of the names we've already discussed: Ronnie Henriquez, 32% strikeout minus walk rate; Gabe Spear at 30%; Braden Fisher at 29%. Brian Baker, 27%, Uceta, 26%, Bennett Sousa, 26% as well. All those guys having incredible seasons, but we'll discuss a little bit further Dylan Lee, who's got a 24.5% strikeout minus walk rate. Unfortunately, did not really capitalize on his opportunity to take over the closer role in Atlanta, but that shouldn't take away from the season that he's having: 2.55 ERA and a 28% strikeout rate on the season.
Yeah, he still had a really good year. Struggles going into the All-Star break aside, I mean, he's been the Braves' best reliever all season long. I do think if Iglesias gets traded, and I believe he will, or if he should get moved, I would imagine that's going to happen. So I hope to see Dylan Lee get a chance to close out games there. I feel like he makes the most sense. So
yeah,
we kind of tease this as a potential closer in June, but maybe in August we'll actually get to see him close out some games.
That's right. Next, we'll discuss Brock Stewart, who's got a 24% strikeout minus walk rate over the past couple of months. Really underrated season again for Brock Stewart, who broke out, I think it was last year in a very small sample, but he's supporting that. And it's really weird sort of career trajectory for Stewart, who was a failed starter for the Dodgers and sort of disappeared for a few years before coming back in 2023. It was 2023 where he broke out, and last year he was terrible. And so it really felt like, oh man, maybe that was just a fluke that he had so much success in 2023, but he's come back this year looking strong again. Not the same velocity that he had before when he was throwing 97. He's looking more 96 this year, but the strikeouts are still there. The success is still there. So pretty cool to see Brock Stewart having success. And if the Twins do trade, a couple of those top guys, he could be the top setup option to whoever's the closer following the deadline.
Yeah, and I think if you say there's a scenario where they move Duran and Jax, I feel like Stewart would be my favorite to close. I know Louis Varland's definitely up for discussion there as well, but I feel like Stewart, being kind of the elder statesman of the group, would get the first chance, and Varland would be a setup guy. But that said, I mean, Stewart has the same contract situation as Duran and Jax, so maybe they move two of the three and keep one, or maybe one. I don't know. We'll see. The Twins definitely have some options here to play with in their bullpen. But yeah, Stewart's a name to keep an eye on. Don't forget about him when you're talking about Duran and Jax, because Stewart's right behind those guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he got traded as well. But that will wrap up the strikeout minus walk rate leaderboard. Let's look at the swinging strike leaderboard. Mention some of the names we've already discussed. Bennett Sousa way high up on that list, in between Mason Miller and Devin Williams, with a 19% swinging strike rate. Pretty incredible. Ronnie Henriquez at 18%. Dylan Lee at 18%. Uceta at 18% as well. Even Sir Anthony Dominguez, pretty high. Eric Orrs, though, is a pretty interesting name, pitching for the Rays, right?
They just sent him. He's on the Rays, but they sent him down recently, and I feel like he was pitching really well for them. And I know that, I think it was when they got Baker, they sent him down.
Okay.
But I feel like he's just kind of worth a mention because it's the Rays, and he's kind of a relief prospect, and he's pitched really well for them this season. So yeah, I mean, that's a good swing strike rate for Orrs. I'd imagine he'll be up at some point in the second half again. We'll see how things go there. But yeah, if they move on from Fairbanks, maybe someone else, maybe another surprise trade, because with the Rays, they could always make a surprise trade.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just a name to kind of keep in mind as far as the Rays go.
Well, I also think it's interesting that he's got such a high swinging strike rate, and yet on the season he's striking out like 23% of the batters he's faced. So it's not really turning into a lot of strikeouts, which maybe suggests that he's not maximizing his potential, or maybe that means he could have a huge breakout second half where he starts striking out a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we'll take a quick look at the CSW leaderboard. You see Braden Fisher on there at 35%, Garrett Clevenger at 35%, Dylan Lee at 35%. All those guys incredible. Brendan Little, 34. Ronnie Henriquez, 34. Jake Bird, surprisingly, 34%. But that comes with a 5.33 ERA and a 1.50 whip, which is a stark contrast to how he was pitching at the beginning of the season when he looked like one of the best relievers in Colorado. And I am sort of relieved to know that even though he is starting to regress a little bit, that it's still supported by good underlying metrics. So it does suggest that Jake Bird is still good, and maybe Coors, with the weather heating up, is just finally affecting him. But I mean, it's not like he's going to get a chance to close at any point, but he does lead the team with 10 holds.
Yeah, that's one guy I feel like they should really try to move at the deadline. I don't know what they could get for him, but I'm sure a team would be interested in getting him out of Coors and, working with him a little bit. So yeah, Jake Bird, I mean, the Rockies never make a ton of moves, but Jake Bird would be a guy I would keep an eye on, similar to like Nick Mears last year with them.
All right. Next, we'll look at Robert Garcia, who's sort of been up and down as the closer for the Rangers. I thought he would really take off, but he really hasn't solidified himself there. It still feels like Luke Jackson's got somewhat of a chance of reclaiming that closer role if the Rangers don't bring somebody in. I mean, they haven't really been that great this year. I would be somewhat surprised if they went all in at the deadline. But as you mentioned, with a couple other teams, the next 2 weeks will really decide what they do. But Garcia does have a 33% CSW over the past couple of months. However, his whip is at 1.53, so he's definitely struggled a little bit.
Yeah, and he's still in the mix for saves because they really don't have a ton of options there. I mean, Chris Martin aside, it's, Luke Jackson's got pitched even worse lately than he had been. I mean, Sean Armstrong's kind of an option, I guess, for them. What they do, if they don't do anything at the deadline or if they kind of sell, then I imagine Garcia's pretty safe in the closer role moving forward, because why not? But maybe they look at DeGrom's having a great season. He's old. Like, how many more years of DeGrom are we going to get a chance to make a run? They have some other veterans there that, maybe they feel like they can squeeze into that last playoff wild card spot and make a run. So I can see the Rangers going any which way at the deadline. But if they do decide on buying, I don't think Garcia will be the closer after the deadline, because that's the first thing they need to fix, is that bullpen.
Yeah, definitely. Next, we'll discuss Scott Barlow, who's got a 32% CSW over the past couple of months, as he's been one of the most reliable relievers in that Reds bullpen. I mean, really anything could happen with this bullpen, just because I feel like anybody could fall apart at any point. Like, none of these guys give me that much confidence that they're so good that they're free from whatever regression is due their way. But Barlow's been very solid this year. 10 holds on the season, 25% strikeout rate, and that CSW is a pretty solid mark over the past couple months.
Yeah, he's had a pretty solid bounce back season considering where he was at last year.
True.
I mean, his pitch repertoire is really interesting this season. They have him throwing 5 pitches pretty much evenly between his slider, sweeper, four-seam, curve, and sinker. But yeah, I mean, he's really relied on those 3 off-speed pitches, which are different pitch. I mean, they're all different pitches. So you don't see that, especially from a reliever. You really don't see that often, but he's been effective with it. And considering how often he throws those breaking balls, seeing that whip at 1 is pretty impressive as well. So yeah, we'll see what Cincinnati does at the deadline. I don't know if I think they want to contend, but I don't know how realistic that really is for them. And maybe they end up selling off pieces, which, Barlow could be one, so couldn't Pagan, open up some doors for other guys in Cincinnati potentially. But yeah, Barlow, I'd imagine Barlow would have interest with other teams if he was available.
All right. Well, back to the Cardinals bullpen, as Jojo Romero has been really solid over the past couple of months. 0.51 ERA to go with his 32% CSW. We already talked about Phil Maton, but Jojo Romero doing what he did last year and finding a lot of success. It's not been a ton of strikeouts, but that CSW does suggest maybe the strikeouts come up in the second half. Nonetheless, he's still finding a lot of holds as the top left-handed option in St. Louis.
Yeah, he's been a very interesting kind of guy to follow the past 3 seasons, I feel. I was really in on him in 2023, and then last year he had solid, ERA and WHIP, but the peripherals were not great. He had 30 holds last year too, but not a big strikeout. The strikeouts dipped 7.5% on him last year, and the strikeouts are still kind of low this year. But at least we're starting to see him, bring that number up a little bit, and he's getting more. He's missing more bats with the CSW over the last couple months. So, definitely the top lefty in St. Louis, and someone who, if they do end up selling, he's only got 2 years left on his deal. I think he's a free agent in 27. So they could move Romero as well. And, this might be the time to kind of sell high if you're the Cardinals. But either way, I think he's a solid but not spectacular, holds option at this point.
All right. Well, that's the CSW leaderboard, and we'll talk about one name on the Stuff Plus leaderboard as Graham Ashcraft, who we had been hoping for a long time for him to shift to the bullpen. And while he hasn't been overwhelmingly incredible, he has been really good, and his stuff is still playing up in the bullpen. 125 Stuff Plus. He's a guy with very little control, and that was the big reason why we always wanted to see him pitch out of the bullpen. And it's not coming back to bite him. It's not like his control's improved, but he has been pitching much better. 3.63 ERA and a 24% strikeout rate to go with 10 holds on the season. I mean, if the Reds do end up selling, I wouldn't be surprised to see Ashcraft start getting more saves, but it really depends on how Terry Francona uses Tony Santillan.
Yeah, and I know he loves Santillan, but I really want to see Ashcraft. I mean, the velo has been better since he came back, and I think if he can just be consistent with that cutter velo at like 98, 99, he's really exciting. Definitely a pretty good slider too. So command's an issue. He still doesn't getting a ton of whiffs and swing and miss, but just the overall stuff is very something to get excited about for someone who's just transitioning into a relief role kind of for the first time. So maybe it's not this year, but maybe next year we'll see how the Reds attack the bullpen. Maybe Ashcraft's a guy that can sneak into a closer role for 2026. Yeah.
Well, that will wrap up all those leaderboards. How do you want to handle this trending up and down? Do you have a few words you can say about it?
I just I think over the last 2 months, we didn't talk about him because he's a well-known name, but Devin Williams has been awesome the last 2 months. He's back to being Devin Williams that we know. I don't think there's any concerns there anymore, right? I feel like he's back to being a top 5 closer. Ronnie Henriquez, if the Marlins were to commit to him as a closer, I feel like he's at least a top 12 or 15 closer option right now. The Marlins just won't. I don't think they're going to commit to him. I think they're going to keep playing situations, so that limits his upside, but he's still someone who's worth a dart throw. And I don't even know, I bet you his Yahoo ownership's still pretty low, so I feel like he's still worth looking into in leagues where he can especially be like helpful in head-to-head leagues, because he's also going to get the occasional win. He's going to help with ratios, and he's going to get strikeouts too. So Henriquez is still being slept on a little bit. And obviously we talked about Bennett Sousa in holds leagues. Hopefully the holds start coming in the second half. But yeah, Bennett Sousa's been awesome and needs to get more attention in holds leagues.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it for this episode 129 of In the Pen. Rick, why don't you go ahead and plug your Twitter and anything else you're working on?
You can find me on socials at I'm Rick Graham. As always, doing closing time on Tuesdays, hold up on Thursdays, saves plus holds on Fridays. Put out a closer trade deadline article last Tuesday. I don't know. I might just go in there and update it next week as we get more information on guys. I'm not really sure yet, but if I do, I'll make a note of it. But yeah, things are like we said. There's so many teams that are 3 or 4 games out of the playoffs right now. I'm sure a lot will change over the next week and a half. So
yeah,
exciting times. I love the trade deadline stuff. And now that there's that extra, playoff spot, it really changes how teams look at things. So it's always a good time to be a seller. I feel like the last year was a good time to sell, and this year I feel like it's going to be the same way.
Yeah, better to be a bad team than a good
right?
team.
Yeah.
Well,
Rebuild.
you can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. You can follow the pod at In the Pen Pod. You can find all of my work at crumplerbaseball.com. You can catch me on the First Pitch podcast once again this upcoming week, Monday through Thursday, live Sunday through Wednesday. And you can also find more of my work at Baseball HQ as I do playing time analysis for the Giants, A's, and Diamondbacks. But that'll do it for this episode 129 of In the Pen. We'll talk to you all next week.